guys, first of all, this is going to be a Q&A with Wooxy, Hero Siege developer, designer. Um, we're going to keep it positive, constructive. We're going to have good conversations. If you guys have any questions, any suggestions or concerns yourselves, please type it in chat. We do have a couple of moderators that will be copying your questions and sending them to me on Discord. And then at the end of the stream, we're going to give Wooxy an opportunity to answer your guys' questions as well. So that way everybody, gets to voice their questions and concerns. Um, we do have a whole spreadsheet of questions that we're going to go down first, and then we have concerns that we're going to address with Wooxy, and then we have suggestions. There is two other tabs that are private. We won't be discussing them today, but that is it for now. And then as we're doing the interview, and you guys have any questions or concerns, type them out. Okay, and please be positive, be constructive, use your energy to make the game better. Okay, I guess that's the best advice I can give. And to start out with, I guess I'll go first. My name is Fearmaky. I played Hero Siege for a long time, 5 years ago I think it was, and then I played it for a lot of hours with Tig, and then we came back at season 7, saw how much progress the game had made, and sat down with Elias just like we're doing now with Wooxy, and went through a lot of questions, concerns, and suggestions with him as well. And from season 7 to season 10 now, um, which Wooxy shared with me, he had a lot to do with the talent trees that he added to each class. The game has come so far, and I'm excited to hear and see what Wooxy has to say about the future of the game. And that's what it's about. We all have our moments where we get frustrated and we're mad at the game, but we use most of our energy, I like to think, to do something about it, to create a platform, to give positive feedback, and let the devs know, hey, this works, this doesn't work, or you guys are doing a great job as well, and what if we could do this? And it's honestly an honor to have Wooxy here give us his time to let us talk to him and see where Hero Siege is at. So with that, Wooxy, if you don't mind introducing yourself and what your position at Panic Art Studios and what's your involvement with Hero Siege?
Yeah, absolutely. So my position right now, I'm a developer slash designer slash staff manager. So how I originally got started with Paz is during season 7. I picked the game up. I played it a couple years before, but it was a totally different game at that point, and I had a lot of fun. I I didn't really know the devs or anything until after season 7. I started helping the devs with balancing and everything during the season 8 beta.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it got started for me. And then after that, I just kept helping them with projects, and eventually I asked Elias if I could join the team, and that's where I'm at now.
Awesome, awesome. So how big is the team now? And if you don't mind explaining that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So right now I believe we have 7 people. It's Rexy, myself, Elias, Jussie, uh, Mika, which is our artist, um, Anton, who is our level designer,
Mm-hmm.
and then Samuel also works with Jussie. He's the back-end coder. I believe I
Okay.
named everybody. Yeah, I think I named everybody.
How do you guys plan a new feature, and what is the process from idea to end game mechanically? Like how does that come about when you guys want to add something new to the game?
So how it works is it's kind of between Rexy and I to pitch the ideas. So what Rexy and I will do is we will kind of set a focus for the night. So for example, if we're working on classes, right, we will say we're tonight we're going to be working on Pyro and Redneck or something. So we bring the initial ideas to Elias at that point after we really fleshed it out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so after that, we present it to Elias, and then Elias will start coding it into the game if Rexy and I can't do that. And then at that point, if there's any issues that Elias has trouble with, he will talk to Jesse and Samuel, and then usually we'll get it figured out. But when it comes to like new features and everything, we just try to focus on what players really want out of the game and what they expect. But also we want to incorporate what we want out of the game as well. So it's kind of a hard balance between the two.
So you guys actually take in suggestions, from the community.
Oh, absolutely. I always read the suggestions from the Discord, like all three of the different suggestions areas. I also talk to players pretty much all the time, asking for their opinions on, just whatever we're talking about for classes or how the season's going or how item drops are. So we go over a lot of different stuff. I try to be real vocal with the community.
Hmm. Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. You see, guys, they are listening, they are reading, and they actually take your guys' ideas, to design new features. So, keep posting them on Hero Siege Discord. All right, it helps the game and it helps them out and it helps you out. So if you're unhappy about something, right, do something about it. Make a comment up there on a suggestion. Uh, you know, One comment that my friend made is, don't be a problem identifier, be a problem solver, because that helps the situation a lot more than everybody saying there's a problem, there's a problem. Well, we know that, right? What's the solution? But yeah, no, that's good to hear, Wooxy, that you guys actually, read and listen to the community feedback on new features. That's awesome.
Yeah, we try our best, because ultimately the players are always, that's our number one priority is that we want to make a game that most of the people are going to absolutely love, and we want our title to be somewhat unique. I know right now people call it a Diablo 2 clone, but I think as time moves on, it's going to become its own unique original title. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Will you add a visual effect to indicate when a aura is on or off? You answered yes on another stream before about this. Is this a change we can expect
Woo!
in
We rolled
season
deep
11?
with another follower.
Or what's your thoughts on that?
More than likely, it's going to be in season 11. Now, regarding when you're saying indicate whether an aura is off or not, are you saying like an actual aura, or are you saying like maybe like mana shield when I'm transitioning between zones?
Um, that's in another question, but more so, if you're watching the stream, I have Dark Oath
Woo! We
on right
rolled
now,
deep with another follower.
and
Hmm.
when you toggle it on, all you see is the little blue shade in the background. The action bar is what I was, referring to. So if you look at
Oh,
number
okay.
four,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, if you can add like an outside the edges, the border, a glowing effect to indicate that hey, the aura is on. Because sometimes when you have 30, like 100 mobs on the screen and all your friends, you have absolutely no idea that the aura is on. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, I actually agree with that.
Hmm.
That is one feature we're gonna try to incorporate is that almost exactly how you did it. Is either we're gonna put like a glowing thing around the border, or we're gonna make it so like the skill kind of like darkens out.
Hmm.
We haven't decided on which one of those look better yet, so that's just something we're gonna work on.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean it's a nice quality, feature that you have, and I'm glad you guys are considering that. Will you add in the character panels names of items under their graphics or a list of equipped items to show the audience? I have shown you a link on this and can show it again if needed. I can pull up the example here on
Yeah, go ahead and pull up
on
the
stream.
example because I think that'd be good for people to see.
Hmm.
But ideally, that's kind of what we want to do. We haven't fully decided upon that, but as we're trying to move forward with quality of life issues, that's definitely something that I personally want.
Hmm.
It looks better. It just feels a lot better than having to scroll over every single item to see what the name is and whatnot. So I personally really like the feature.
Awesome.
Like what season 11's about so far is just we're gonna really try to do as many quality of life issues as possible.
Hmm.
Um, and then we're going to also try to fix every single bug that's possible so that this way season 11 is a lot stronger than season 10 in terms of like how the launch was and everything else. So
Good deal. Okay, so as far as the character panel, yes, they will consider adding names underneath, just like I showed you guys, and that would be great. All right. Have you ever considered the mob name template targeting to be moved to the top of the screen with debuffs under it for better clarity? The screen and effects clutter currently is so high you can't even see the test dummy in town when testing the damage. I had a picture of this. I don't know where I put it, but if we're doing a boss, for example, you know how his health appears at the top of the screen?
Mm-hmm.
And you see how the dummy here has all the debuffs on the dummy, but then the moment Tig goes into the screen and his pets, you can't see the debuffs.
Mm-hmm.
What we would like to see, if you're able to do it, is that the debuffs on the current target that you're focusing with your mouse is moved up to the top underneath the name template. So if you're attacking, you know, an act boss or you know, an elite or a boss at the end of a wormhole, his health bar is already at the top. You guys already have it there. If you can move the debuffs to snap underneath the health bars, that would give us, you know, quicker visibility on what debuffs is on the mobs and what stacks, etc. Is that something you guys can do or would consider doing?
Yeah, that is something we have considered doing because um, I'm gonna derail this just for a second so
Sure.
that I can answer the question properly. Uh, this is a big issue on Pirate right now because if you're playing like the Gunner class, you can't even see your whole screen, right? There's so many explosions going on that you can't see monsters, you can't
Visual
see your
clutter.
screen. Exactly, there's just so much visual clutter. So one big thing we're trying for season 11 is to reduce that clutter and make it so there's only so many instances at a time of explosions or whatever it might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then on top of that, I'm really gonna push for to put like mob HP bars, kind of like Path of Exile or something, so you can actually physically see the mob's HP. Uh, whereas like when you're in a massive group, say you're playing with a Lancer or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that way you'd still be able to see the mob's HP when there's a ton of clutter on the screen. But ultimately,
Correct.
we're going to try to make a lot of that clutter either transparent or we can toggle it off. So if bringing back the pirate example again, if I was playing pirate and you're playing white mage, you'd have the option to completely toggle off the explosions from my end. So that's something
Awesome.
we're definitely working on.
So you
Good
That's a
so
deal.
basically what you're saying is
huge.
expanding on the option that's already in the game under disable show teammate projectiles, correct?
Correct.
So it's essentially an improved version of that system that's already there. Because that is something we suggested to Elias back in season 7, is to
Hmm.
disable friendly players and party members, especially in multiplayer, their abilities and effects, at least the big ones, right? Because that with everything else, the screen clutter is just too overwhelming,
Well,
specifically
one
in multiplayer.
Yeah, and one thing we also have to incorporate too is something more that the player doesn't see because, for example, bringing back the pirate again, because the pirate's just the perfect example for this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if we make it so we're only not, or we're only taking the visible projectiles away, for example, like the bombs and explosions, if we just did it to where we hide the spray and not the actual damage, uh, that could be a really big issue and that causes people a lot of lag. So we have to go a little further than that and make it so that it doesn't desync on anybody's end, it doesn't cause lag on anybody's end, that once you toggle that ability, it toggles all the projectiles off your screen from players. So yeah, that's something we're gonna work on improving.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully that works for season 11. We definitely do like the idea of like having the mobs HP bars more visible because yeah, just like you said, it's very difficult to even determine what's going on, and
Correct.
that's something we definitely need to focus on as we progress further in the game.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, even here, just attacking the dummy now. I mean, obviously putting the health at the top and the debuffs at the top, I think would be the best visual.
Yeah,
You know, in
yeah,
my
I agree.
opinion. You know, but even something like this, where the moment I walk in front of the debuffs, I cover them. So to code it where the debuffs snap to the front and the character becomes in the background, even that, you know, could be a minor fix because I mean, you really want to see the debuffs on the mob.
That's something we're definitely going to be working on in season 11. Uh, our original idea was kind of to put HP bars above the mobs and then have the debuffs either below or above that HP bar so that it's very, very visible. And then we also did bring up the idea that we are going to put that sprite to the top layer where if you do walk underneath it or you do walk next to that mob or something, that those debuffs and the HP bar will be
Snap to the
visible.
front.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be the
Mhm.
first thing that comes up. So
Awesome. All right. Well, I like that. That's pretty good. Will the comprehensive loot filter be implemented in season 11, and will it feature armor pieces specific and slot specific filters to gray items out?
right now there's a ton of gray items in the game where they're just not needed. Uh, they're just trash in your inventory. So one of the problems for players right now is that they have to loot every single gray item on the ground to tell if it's going to be a good rune word base.
Mm-hmm.
And just to explain rune words for anyone not very familiar with them, you need a certain gray item with a certain amount of sockets, and you have to put the runes in a certain way for it to turn into an item. So what we're wanting to do with a loot filter, and we haven't really fully fleshed out the idea yet, but we do want to do some sort of filter where it's like rune words only, where it would only show the rune word bases along with the rune word sockets. So, for example, if I'm making a Shroud of the Elements, it would only show the leather chest pieces, whatever it is, for that one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely something we want to incorporate.
Okay, so to summarize then, you guys will be working on the loot filter, and you will allow us to target hopefully rune words in specific socketed. Well, I guess if you just do rune words, it'll automatically be coded where it's the sockets properly for that rune word. And as far as the quality, obviously it's going to range, so that way you still have to pick it up and have that element of surprise. Um,
Hmm.
will this be something that'll be implemented by season 11, you think, or it might take longer?
So we definitely like to roll it out season 11.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing is we haven't really fleshed out the idea completely. So until that point, we won't be making a decision whether it's in season 11 or season 12 yet.
Okay.
Uh, because right now our season 11 task list is pretty big with a lot of quality of life features, but this is something I would really, really, really want to push to season 11. I think we want to make it so if you're gonna zone out, like if you're gonna change zones or teleport or something, while there's a satanic set piece or angelic on the ground, that it will prompt you saying, "Hey, you got loot on the ground. Do you really want to leave the area?"
Mm-hmm.
That
So
would
that
be
that's
awesome because
yeah. So
sometimes it doesn't make a sound when a red drops unless you're looking at the map, which is very rare, but
correct.
we've experienced that on, I'm sure you're aware of that. And we've also experienced that on wormholes. When a red
Yes.
item drops, the sound is just not present. It's very rare, but it happens. So that other visual indicator, or I guess in this case, a check, would be
Hmm.
would assist with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay. Will you add the ranks to party portraits above player icons? We suggested this before in season 7, and the lobby seems to capture it now, but it would be nice to see it in game. Um, and what I mean by that is, we actually sent a picture. I don't know if I have it anymore to Elias. So obviously, the party frame would have to be redesigned a little bit, but it would show you, your current leaderboard rank and above your portrait. If I'm ranked 2 or 3 or 5, you know, uh, like I mean, at least up to 10 or 20, whatever it is. And then we also had recommended when you type in chat, you know, um, to have, shown that you're a challenger rank or whatever rank it is. Just to be. I guess it gives you what's the word I'm looking for? Validity, when you're typing stuff in the general chat, to the community and all that, if they see that you're a player that plays a lot, you're on the leaderboards, and you take the game seriously, it's nice to show that in game, especially in party if you group with other people. And this is all going to tie into the questions down, that we have, the other questions we have here further on in the suggestions. When we introduce those other systems, if they do come to fruition, all this visual graphic in the party, when you're in a party with somebody and when you join that community or group, it's like, oh wow, this guy's a challenger, this guy is ranked 10 or 20. It's just gonna, help the group more, I think, in a way. Is that something you guys would can do or would consider doing? Because I know you can see it in the lobby. In the lobby you see all the players and
Yeah,
you see
you
a
can
rank
see it.
above their head.
Yeah, you can see it in the lobby, and then you could also see it in game where it shows the rank above the player's head, obviously. Um, but in terms of putting that on the actual interface, we're not sure yet. That's something we're gonna have to really talk about before we make a complete decision on that one,
Hmm.
because we need to draw the line between having too much clutter on the screen and it being, how do I word this? It being visually appealing for a newer player or even for, the more advanced player, right? It's great to have the ranking show on the actual UI,
Hmm.
but it maybe might just be too much. So that's something we have to play around with and get some feedback on.
Sounds good.
Just
Oh,
another add-on question to that, right? So for the challenger rank, right, for duos, trios, and quads, is it based on first three position, or is it the first three groups?
It's the first three groups, and it doesn't physically show that because we haven't coded it into the system to do that. So it's for the visual, it's just going to take the first three people. But what it actually takes is the first three teams. So nothing to worry about there. I know that's been a concern for a while, and that's something that we're definitely going to change. Season 11 is a good time to do that because, like I said, season 11 is basically our quality of life season.
hmm.
So that's definitely something I'd personally want to add.
So that's huge. So one example, so the threes leaderboard, if you have, the top three teams, which would be 9 players essentially. So all of those 9 players would essentially get challenger rank, even though it's not
Correct.
reflected right now.
Correct. It's
That's
just not
awesome.
showing. It's just not showing in the actual interface. But
Hmm.
on our side, it's the top three teams.
Are the auras turning off each time you switch a zone? Is that intended, or are you able to keep them active in a future patch?
So that is something we are gonna fix in season 11 to where it's gonna be something where you transition from zone to zone and it will remain on because it's a big issue on a couple classes, right? It's a big issue on Demon Spawn who completely relies on Mana Shield for the most part if they're playing the Bloodlord tree, for example.
Hmm.
Or if you're playing the White Mage and you're going the full mana build, your HP is only going to be like, what, 100,000?
Hmm.
So it makes it really annoying for the player, obviously, to continue having to toggle on those abilities. So more than likely, I would say you guys will probably be seeing this feature in season 11.
That's awesome. Well, that's great news. I think I have this question later on, and if I do, I apologize. I want to ask now so I don't forget. Is the toggling the auras so I can go Mana Shield, I can go Dark Oath, and then switch out and go Mana Orb? Is that intended for the auras to remain active even though you don't have them on your action bar? Because I know some classes can't do it and some can. What's your
No,
thoughts on
that's
that?
that's that's not intended. So our intention is only things are going to benefit you in the four skill slots that you assign. So, for example, if I'm playing the White Mage again and I want to do the mana build, um, I would have to physically still have Mana Shield on my bar for it to be active, and
Hmm.
same goes for like Dark Oath. I would physically have to have it on my bar to be active. So, yes, that is something we will be changing in Season 11 because that's not intentional at all.
Hmm. Okay. With the implementation of the auction house on season 11, will there be a beta testing for it to make sure we do not lose items or currency when posting?
So, to Before I answer this question, let me just go ahead and talk about what we're going to be doing for the beta from now on.
Hmm.
Um, so from now on, we're only going to be doing closed betas. We're only going to be recruiting people for those betas that can basically know life the game
Hmm.
and who are extremely, they're able to spot problems, right? So for our team that is going into season 11 to work on the auction house, we're literally going to have everybody sitting there spamming, trying to break the auction house for almost a week straight. So that's one of the things that we're going to work on is that we're going to prioritize how we do our testing and how we do our bug fixing and everything else
Mm-hmm.
because adding an auction house is a very scary thing in the game for a lot of people because they can definitely think like, oh yeah, this is just going to be dupe central. I mean, people are going to break this left and right. We're we're really going to focus on making that almost impossible, and I think we have both the tools and the ability to.
Mm-hmm. Can you give us a preview or go into detail on how the auction house will work? For example, from point of sale to purchase and final exchange. Like, how is that going to work
So it's going to work a lot like the World of Warcraft auction house if you guys have played that,
for 15
where
years? Yeah.
basically, yeah, exactly. So you guys know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of that auction house, where you have the ability to excuse me, basically post it as a buy it now type of thing or an auction, like an actual like I can set this for, 7 days. So if you have a angelic you just found, you can sit there and sit on it and have an actual auction. And then you can also set out for a buyout price. So if you're just selling an item, instead of having to sell it through Discord and put the item price there, you
Mm-hmm.
just say you just put the item price right on the interface for the player to see, and they can decide to buy it or not. So I think that's one thing that we're going to be focusing on, is just making it very easy for the player to do, and definitely like UI wise,
Mm-hmm.
we want to make it very appealing and simple at the same time, and that's something that Diablo or not Diablo, but World of Warcraft does very well.
Mm-hmm.
So we will be doing something very similar to that.
There it is. Have you guys entertained the Trinity system, a Trinity class system for wormholes, where a tank, support, and a DPS roles can shine and get higher wormholes if combined in groups?
So that's definitely something we've talked about, and that's something that might be coming up in season 12. I can't really talk about that too much.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can say about the whole Trinity class thing is that we need to change how the game works a little bit. We need to reduce total income of damage. We need to reduce how much regen people are getting. We need to reduce things for that to even be a viable option.
Correct. No, okay, that's good. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's something, if it comes in season 12 or, future seasons, I think it'd be good for the game. But you're right, there's a lot more balancing and tweaks that needs to happen before that comes into play, especially with each individual class itself, before we can even do
Correct.
that. But that's good that you guys, would at least consider it because it make group play more viable. Okay.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate that. All right, let's do the next question because we do have a lot of questions and we don't want to take too much of your time and we want to get to as many of them as possible.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no worries, no worries. I'm here for as long as you guys need me.
awesome.
It's my day off, so I'm here.
Good deal. I appreciate that. So, have you guys considered giving more classes support slash tank talents to scale appropriately and to synergize together? Example, Lancer and DPS works well, which is, Tig and I run duos. Plague Doctor with debuffs in groups is also amazing when we were running threes. And White Mage support and DPS also complements a group very well. Or are you guys okay with only having a handful of 17 classes being group friendly?
So this is kind of a complex question because there's a whole ton of stuff to even think about before we make a decision on that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we definitely are trying to go in that direction. That was one of the big reasons why I made a lot of classes have some sort of, function to where they can either break armor or break elements, do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in terms of like, how do I explain this? So if I'm playing a Lancer, right, more than likely I'm going to be playing just a pure tank role, and I'm just there to taunt mobs and to make sure that the boss doesn't kill people.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, you have someone like a pirate who won't be giving you a buff, but maybe they'll have so much damage that that's basically what they're bringing to the group is that they just have more damage than the other player. And especially for like White Mage right now, where we have a lot of percent scaling, so White Mage is super, super strong. Obviously that wasn't intended. Like, obviously we want White Mage to be strong, but not strong enough to where they're out DPSing like a complete DPS build. Um, that's something we need to just work on
Mm-hmm.
because bringing up the White Mage for another example, we really wanted the Zealot tree to be the DPS tree and then have the Divine Being or whatever we named him be the healing tree. But
Mm-hmm.
there was so many ways to combine them both together that it kind of made a really dangerous class. So that's something we have to focus on is really drawing the line of what class is going to be doing what are they going to be bringing to a team,
Mm-hmm.
because we definitely like the idea of more players playing in parties, both like drop wise and just experience wise, because parties are ultimately what an MMO type ARPG is about. People want to play together, they want to play with their friends. So yeah, we are going to be trying to incorporate more utility and things like that into the game.
Awesome. Okay. Have you guys designed or have some ideas on the next seasonal theme already? If you if you have, can you share what it will be?
Yes, so we already have the next season mechanic built. I can't really talk about it. I'm just gonna say one word, towers.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are left with thinking of whatever that could be. Um, but
Okay.
that's the only thing I could say is towers. But we do have it completely built. We're going to be starting testing this next week, so looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, there you go, guys. The next season mechanic is already built. It's in place. They're going to be testing it. And Wooxy is giving you guys a hint that it will be called Towers for now, and use your imagination. But that's awesome. That's great news. Well, thank you for that, Wooxy. I hope you guys like that one. That's a huge question as far as next content.
Yeah,
Um,
and just to touch on that a little bit,
hmm
so after this league, the whole statue thing will be incorporated into the next league, but it won't be incorporated in the same way, so you'll lose the ability to like gain that extra percentage per zone. Um, Instead,
Oh, so you mean the
the shrines, yeah, the
the
chaos
Chaos
shrines are
Shrines is going to remain in the game for next season?
correct, but it'd be
Yes.
more it'd be more of like a or a Shadow Realm portal, right? So it'd only be
Okay.
a 5% chance to spawn in any map that has a statue. And we're also going to be adding statues to like boss rooms as well. So the more potential uh chaos statues or chaos shrines, whatever you can find, is definitely there.
Okay. Last time we discussed on creating a reroll token to add sockets randomly. Is this being developed, and how will you intend for it to work? We requested to only randomly roll between socket amounts, but make the token rare and tied behind ruby ore currency at the blacksmith or even jade ore. Bricking the item on the reroll is too punishing, and we will never take that risk to use it. It's better to just buy a full socketed item than to risk a reroll on bricking it. So, what's your thoughts on that, Wooxie?
So, as much as I hate saying this part of what I'm gonna say, we want some trash items to be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
We want items that players aren't always going to be able to sell, and that's really important for the economy, right? Because we don't want every single item being something that's worth something. So,
That's
for
ARPG
example,
101.
correct. And for example, like say I drop a one socket Raven's Claw. Um, yeah, it's still a decent item, but obviously it's not going to sell as much as a four socket. So we definitely want to bring that layer of RNG to the game where I find this four socket Raven's Claw and I know for a fact it's going to sell for a ton. So, uh, I really do like the RNG element of
Mm-hmm.
finding something that's not so great to finding something that's like, oh my gosh, this thing's gonna really, really bump up my progression on my character.
That's true.
So,
No, I
so
like that.
yeah, so adding a reroll token to socket, like changing sockets or changing elements more than likely we probably won't implement or implement anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
It devalues the BIS.
No,
I know,
true.
right?
Exactly.
Yep.
No, I like that
But
answer, and it makes sense, yeah, because when you get a four-socketed item or six-socketed item, you want to have that excitement. If you get like a two-socket and now you can just roll it into a six-socket, it kind of diminishes that.
Exactly. And
whatever,
Yeah, I
right?
mean the gap
Because
between item acquisition after the auction
yep,
house comes out is gonna be
flips the
much
game upside
less.
down.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
exactly.
complete yeah, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
complete change. So
So let's
adding
make a
reroll
judgment after
sockets
that.
and all that to items right now because
Yep.
unfortunately, if you've been dealt a bad hand of RNG,
Mhm.
with the introduction of the auction house, that RNG is going to be less because there's going to be a
We
lot more
can't make a
people
judgment
posting.
yet, right?
Yeah, correct. It's too early exactly to make a judgment on that or introduce another layer to make an item a best in slot. So
Yep.
that's a good
And
answer.
and to also follow up on that as well,
Hmm.
we are going to be seeing a lot more items in the economy because I would say I don't have the exact number in front of me right now, but I'd say almost 50%, 60% of our players don't even join our Discord, don't even engage in trade.
Hmm.
So now you're going to be having all these people that weren't in the market, they're going to be in the market now.
Yep.
So there's going to be more boss runes, there's going to be a ton more items, and that's something that we really have to balance out.
Are you guys developing new satanics and items for next season? If so, can you name a few or show it, providing a link will allow me to show it on the stream if possible?
So yes, we're developing a lot new or like many new items. Um, there's nothing I could really show you yet, but just
Hmm.
to talk about some of the cool stuff we are adding regarding items, we're going to be adding low-level satanics. So you'll be able to start finding satanics while leveling from 1 to 100, and
Wow.
you'll be able to find some of these in normal mode, you'll be able to find some of these in nightmare and hell. Now, these lower level satanics can only drop in the certain difficulty that they're supposed to be in. So if we make like a low level satanic bow, you're only going to be able to drop that in normal mode, and the upgrade cost on it is going to be extremely low. With how many rubies it costs, since obviously it's a leveling item.
Hmm.
We're also going to be incorporating some new leveling rune words as well. Um, one of them I want to be like an end game rune word where it's going to take runes from Inferno difficulty to craft to where you have a really good, twinked item for your character.
Hmm.
So, um, those are some of the new items we are going to add. But for season 11, we still need to add 17 sets. Excuse me. We still need to add 17 sets for all the new classes or all the
Okay.
new trees. So we will be implementing all of those. We also plan to add some new rune words and some changes on current items. And one of the most interesting things we're going to add, we're adding league specific items to the league specific thing
Oh
that we're
shit.
making.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
That's
it's gonna be worth grinding these
Whoa.
to get some of these items.
That's
Okay,
awesome.
so you are developing new items and satanics. You're introducing low level
Headhunter.
satanics that you'll be able to find in normal difficulty, nightmare, hell, and inferno. And in these difficulties, you'll only be able to find these low levels. Like, for example, if you get a level 20 satanic that drops in normal, you can only get that in normal, correct?
Correct, because we don't want these items being in like the level 100 pool. We don't want people getting, level 20 satanics when they're sitting here trying to farm for those end game ones. So definitely we're gonna make it so it's specific to the difficulty. And
Mm-hmm.
another reason why we want to do that is if you want to like farm on your main to try to get one of these items for your alts, you have the ability to do that a little easier. So from both a solo self-found like both the solo self-found side of things, it'd be a little bit better for the player, and it's also
Mm-hmm.
good for the economy too, because some of these items might be worth something to a newer player. So,
Absolutely. Have you considered seasonal specific satanics or reworking existing satanics to provide new gameplay and interactions? Example, a current satanic with added effects and abilities, be it minor but still, cool to have.
so we're adding both of those things. We're going to be adding, like I said before, league-specific items. And these league-specific items are going to be somewhat niche to where they can be for a supporter role, or they're just going to give you an absolute ton of damage, but they're going to be very weird items.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want it just to be like every single person's going to use this new weapon because it's OP. We want it to be more of a decision like, hey, do I want to use this weapon over this other one because this is, a very niche item.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing we want to do with league specific stuff, is to make it very, very unique.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then with some current satanics, just for example, like Boots of Blood, this won't be happening this season, but
Mm-hmm.
more than likely we're going to add some sort of effect to where, like, while you're leeching life or while you're leeching HP, you get increased damage or something like that. So that way it ties into the feature of you have lifesteal boots, but not really anything to do with it.
I
And
see.
we also wanted to do something with the Curse of Blood,
Mm-hmm.
where you can like leech over your cap, kind of like in Path of Exile with the forgot the character's name, the duelist.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but basically, we want to make the chest plate or the cuirass of blood to where you can leech over the cap of your HP, and basically you can always continue leeching, and it will apply the new leech every single hit. That way it's not
So
like that's not that way it's not like overcapped to where you can't die, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we're gonna make it so that the Cuirass of Blood has that additional damage while leeching or something like that. Or you can go like above the cap to leech. So we definitely want to make more niche items
Mm-hmm.
so that more interesting builds can definitely happen.
What is the rune filtering under options in game? There is no description of what it does and how it works. Please explain. We know it currently has no effect, but what's the intent behind it for the future? And as Wooxy said, if you plug in a number of the rune order following his spreadsheet, you're gonna only see that rune word, that rune drop, from that number up. But right now, don't do anything with it. Don't mess with it. It's not actually
But
fully
with the
functional yet.
current crafting and mining in play, I mean, with the current crafting and a blacksmith where you can upgrade gems from 0 all the way up and on, why would I ever want to use that rune filter?
Yeah, exactly. And
You
that's
wouldn't.
something yeah, that's something that we wouldn't want to really want to incorporate. I think Elias had an idea behind it and kind of put that
Mhm.
into the game, kind of like herbalism, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Okay.
been around since what, season 8 now,
Yeah.
where we still have the herbalism stat in the game to actually do. So we're definitely trying to avoid situations like that in the future,
Hmm.
as we progress as a team. So we don't want to give false expectations to things,
Correct.
and that's something we've definitely done on some things, and yeah, we just need to work on that.
Well, on the bright side, right? You could just change that from rune filter to be a rune word or item filter to tie into the new system and allow you to pick the slots or whatever.
Exactly.
That's ready. That's the
Exactly.
base for that. But okay. No, good deal. All right. So, I mean, not currently working, but we'll do something with it in the future. Maybe tie
Yep.
into the rune word filtering system, right?
Keep the default value at 0. That's very important.
Yes.
Yeah, for right now, keep it at 0 because, like I said, I don't know exactly what it does yet. So just keep it at 0.
Okay, go.
As it stands, wormholes are a great idea, but I feel like there can be additions to make it more valuable for a end game feature. Do you have any plans to build on the wormholes in the future?
So just to give you guys a little
We're all
teaser of
waiting on
like,
this.
yeah, so what we're wanting to do with wormholes is a couple different things. So one thing in wormholes, we do want to change is how the items drop. So right now, items drop from any enemy on the map. We want to change that so all the items drop only from the boss. So basically, it would take all the items that drop from every single monster and put it into the boss's loot table.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So that way you'd get just a big explosion of loot at the end,
Yep.
and you don't have to waste time having to loot. So for example, if I'm sitting here trying to progress into a timed wormhole, right? And then I have a satanic drop across the map. Well, that kind of throws
It's a
the
waste of
player
time.
off. it's a waste of time to go pick it up, but you don't want to forget about it either. So it's a distraction that doesn't need to happen while you're trying to push something competitive. Another thing we're going to be doing is changing a lot of the bosses. More than likely, every single boss in terms of wormholes are
Mhm.
going to be changed. This won't be until season 12 or season 13, more than likely season 12 though. But we are going to be adding completely new bosses that have more can't think of the word right now,
Mechanics.
but
Mechanics.
well, yeah, more mechanics, and they would act more like Reaper, where it gives you a visual indicator of whether you're going to get one shot or not.
Mhm.
So,
More
we
reactive
definitely
mechanics. Right?
exactly we want the players to be able to actually avoid things in an organic way, right? We don't want just the random stupid one shots to be happening to people because that's not fun. And as a player, it's really annoying when you sit there and collect a whole, a whole thing of or not runes, but relics, and then you die and then you lose them all. And same goes for hardcore. Like I won't even touch hardcore ladder right now because of the Annie thing where it one shots you.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, we do plan to have a lot better bosses that have more of a set. How do I say this?
Set of
A
skills
set
and
a
mechanics.
set yeah a set pattern of skills and mechanics.
I like
Uh,
the idea of making, different bosses, different abilities and mechanics, because one of the, in my opinion, I think the fundamental flaws in the leaderboards and wormholes is that right now there currently isn't a system or mechanic in place that the leaderboards measure skill, right? The leaderboard right now, in my opinion, doesn't measure skill at all. It's a true measure of who has more time, who has no life,
Correct.
right?
I mean, wormhole 1 to wormhole 1,000 to me is no difference. You know,
Correct.
but we're gonna touch on that right now, guys, on the next topic of our Q&A with Wooxy, and this section is called concerns. I know Mr. Easy and Senzi is touching on it right now as well, but Mr. Easy said we haven't touched on ascendancy at all. I guarantee you guys, we're getting into this section now, concerns, and we're gonna address all of these, well, most of these issues. And if we miss something, like I said, we'll definitely go with that. So if you guys don't mind, we'll jump right into concerns. Are you guys ready? Are you ready, Wooxy?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so getting into the concern section. And the first concern is wormhole multiplayer damage issue. Highest damage player needs to click to confirm to get the normal damage. Solution idea give everybody ability to click, confirm, normalizing all damage of players to start of players, then a start button, or only when all players click confirm. I guess to make sense of this, obviously in multiplayer right now, whoever zones into the wormhole first, or in our case, whoever clicks confirm first, or clicks confirm to go into the wormhole, gets snapshotted all of their damage. The second, third, and fourth player gets their damage drastically reduced. It's a massive bug that's known in the game. Um, what's
Well, is
your
it known, Wooxy, and why is that?
Yeah. What's your solution or response to that?
So that's something we are going to be addressing in season 11. The main issue is how we have hosting set up and how we have uh, skills connecting to the hosting person. So for example, say I'm the host, right?
Hmm.
And I have all floating relics. Well, second someone joins, for the most part, usually the host changes to the newer player. Um, so we need to fix how each player's abilities actually stay basically stay on the character themselves.
Hmm.
Um, and then another issue is there's a lot of desync issues with skills, which is why we're doing our beta testing only online from now on. And the desync in skills is very big. Like for playing solo, you're not going to see those desync skills, but second you get a person in your party, everything just goes down the drain. And that's just something we haven't been able to catch physically since we haven't been doing our betas online. But that is something we definitely plan to fix in season 11.
Zoning areas slash acts slash wormhole damage bug. The player that zones in first to the act or wormhole seems to have his damage normalized. The other loses damage Thoughts on the fix? I guess this ties into the very first question that we already
Is that what we
addressed.
just talked about?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
Well, it was more so for wormholes, but this also applies to zoning in any maps, period.
yeah,
Um,
and for that, the answer to that truly is 90% of it's basically just desync. A majority of it's just going to be desync issues that we're going to have to fix in the beta.
Good deal. All right, so 90% of it there was desync issues, and hopefully it should be fixed by season 11.
Correct.
Ascendancy, rune word overscaling, is it intended? The Marauder and the Viking mana energy builds, is it really intended design and class lore? What is your take on this issue? We believe classes need identity. An example, a white mage wearing a two-handed axe pushing 1000 wormhole plus should not be a thing. So what is the deal with that? With the whole mana build Viking and mana build Marauders?
Well, ultimately, and not talking about the damage for a second, just
Hmm.
talking about thematically, um, we wanted to build something that was extremely niche for both casters and melee, which was the rule of order rune word, or sovereignty um, rune word, and then the ascendancy rune word. Um, Thematically, we wanted it to be more of like a spell warrior type thing, or like a spell blade type class, and I think we really captured that. Other than its damage being really high due to scaling on percentage damage, but we kind of like interesting builds like that. Um, we obviously won't be seeing like a mage wearing a two-handed axe, but we might see something very interesting in the future that could be completely game like meta defining. So,
Okay. Having a spell or mana build Viking and Marauder is something that's intended though, regardless of
correct.
class lore. Okay, so that is something you guys still intend to keep in the game in some form, obviously in a
Correct.
much more balanced state though. Okay.
Yeah, we like the idea of going out of the box a little.
Okay.
Uh, because what type of game really has melee mana stacking classes? Well, there's like maybe Path of Exile, right? But that's fun though. That brings a lot of interesting perspectives of what we can do in the future to this game. And that's really
True.
what we tried to test the waters on this season with the Ascendancy and Rule of Order. Um, that's really something we were testing the waters on, and we got some pretty good results. I'm really happy with how things turned out.
Hmm.
Besides the overscaling, but once we fix that, they're going to be good items and not too OP. So I look forward to that.
The question, or the concern is, with overpowered builds or classes pushing wormholes, what's your thoughts or rules on it, and how can we keep the leaderboards a fair place to compete? Example, a build which is working above and beyond its design and intention, but players abuse it to get ahead. Will you remove their progression of such players or leave it alone? Before you answer this, my concern and the reason for putting this in place at the time, and you answered it earlier in the stream, was a lot of us here invested hundreds of hours and weeks into the game. And if you can see from the leaderboards, Tig and I were first, but now we're second. We were first in threes, but now we're second. That's how the group is just going crazy. And, we were first in fours, and now, we're in second. So based on your feedback earlier, the what's shown here isn't actually what's going to happen systematically in the end. So the top three teams of four, meaning 12 players, will actually get challenger rank, correct?
Correct.
And so that means we're getting challenger in fours. We're getting Tig and I will get challenger, and Marky will get challenger in threes at the current state if we continue playing, and we'll still get challenger in duels. The only way we'll
But
be
it doesn't read that on the lobby.
no, it doesn't, but that's what Wooxy said. But
Yeah, it's just a
systematically, we will
it's a
get the
visual
reward.
bug.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
So
just
Yeah.
a glitch.
yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So my
Yeah.
concern isn't as much as it used to be. It's unreasonable to expect every class to be perfectly balanced, but it is your goal to bring them all in line with each other, where each class is viable.
Correct. So this season hasn't been the best example because we literally had to rebalance 306 skills, um, probably between 3 to 4 times, due to certain systems being changed within the game maker, and they threw off our numbers completely. But we did get a lot of data from this season, so that's going to help us balance it a lot better in future seasons to come. And what we did this season was really just lay the foundation of each class, right? Uh, Now we have something to work with. Now we know what to tune with the numbers and just what to fix. So this
I
season
ha
really was beneficial.
You know, from your stance as a designer and developer, I mean, I spoke to you know earlier in the week about this as well. I mean, you guys, you had to design and build and balance all 306 skills for all 17 classes. So to expect from all of them to be fully functional and balanced in the you know when you release them, you know it's unreasonable. But now I understand that this was the season pretty much to lay that foundation down, and now you guys just gonna build upon that and make it better and better. So that's cool to
Correct.
understand that.
And to
Please,
touch
for
on that,
season
and to
11.
touch on that, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, just fix my necromancer for season 11. That's all I
Oh,
ask.
it's already fixed. Don't worry. Just to give you a little heads up,
Pet
I
builds
read.
have to be something in an ARPG. We
Yeah,
need it.
so pet build got buffed. We also heavily buffed the Venomancer. Like his AoE was really bad, so we took his Poison Nova cooldown down to I believe 4 seconds or 3 seconds, something like that. So you can spam his AoE quite a bit.
But the necromancer, if I remember correctly, the previous patch, right, there was a skill that allowed him to generate corpse so that if his minion die, he can resummon the minion. But now, you can't even generate corpse for yourself to resummon minions.
Blows it up.
Correct,
It's been
and we
frozen for
need
a
to.
while.
Yeah, we need to make the corpse explosion be something else. We like the idea of it, but obviously it's just not translating very well with the class. So more than likely we'll make the corp like the detonate thing. Either like you throw out something and you detonate it, or maybe just
Woo!
detonate
We
on
rolled
corpses,
deep
something like
with
that,
another
so
follower.
that it's not so underwhelming and it doesn't just kill your minions off and then you can't resummon them.
Okay.
Because that's a big issue. That's a really big issue is not being able to resummon your minions.
Magic Find has been a huge concern since the game's inception. Even during the beta testing of Season 10, where we had the slider to bring the Magic Find to 3,750%, it did nothing to drops to allow testing, etc. What's your take on this? What's going on with Magic Find? I tell everybody that it's a meme stat in the game.
So right now, Magic Find, how do I explain this? Magic Find works very well, but there's still so much RNG behind it that it feels very minuscule. Um, we're changing that because we're going to be overhauling our complete MF system. So you'll be getting consistent drops, not like Diablo 3. So we're not changing this to Diablo 3. No one has to worry about that.
Please don't.
But but you're going to be getting a little bit more consistent drops, um, which will definitely help with that. Uh, and how MF will apply to that is when you hit that satanic drop, MF will determine which tier it is in rather than the percentage of drop rate. So having more MF gives you a chance at higher tier items, which makes it
yes,
more of a stat that you can invest in.
Okay,
yes.
so right now it works well, but it's so much RNG that it barely feels like it's affected. In the future, Magic Find will determine higher tiers of satanic drops, correct?
Correct, and just to go a little bit further on that, like, so MF right now only basically affects the quantity of drop. It
Not the
only
quality.
affects, exactly, not the quality. It only affects the percentage it's gonna drop. But we're gonna change this to where you're getting a little bit more consistent satanics, and we actually have a system, uh, even though I can't go into it too much, but we
Hmm.
have a system where there's kind of a guaranteed way of getting a satanic if you're sitting there farming for hours. So this will help the players who sit there and say, "Oh, I've been playing 8 hours, I haven't found a satanic." That's no longer going to be the case.
What's
But
the word for
we're
that? Will be a forgiving system, right? I forgot what the word is, but it's called like a forgiving system where if you played 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever, you'll be guaranteed one.
exactly, and that timer will be obviously have some RNG behind it. Um, but it will reset every single time you do get a satanic. So say my timer was set to an hour and 30 minutes or something, right?
Mhm.
If I get a satanic before that, it would just re-roll the timer.
Yep.
So that way it only benefits people who are just absolutely not getting any RNG. So it's not going to be like inflating the market or anything.
Mhm.
Right.
But
As a
yeah,
follow-up to that, in chat, he's asking to clarify, angelics are out of the new Magic Find system, correct?
correct. Angelics are their own thing.
Okay, so the new Magic Find system, which will affect better
Excludes
teardrops,
angelics.
is not going to affect angelics.
Correct.
these guys,
Is this?
these guys want all the angelics, Wooxy.
Have you? Hey, Wooxy, have you
Angelic
heard
week
of?
1.
Your response was Magic Find works well right now. The issue is there's so much RNG. It's barely affected by Magic Find. In the future, Magic Find will be determined by higher tiers of satanic drops. Magic Find right now only affect quantity but not quality. Will be changed to give more drops of higher value. Will be implementing a forgiving system where you'll be getting a guaranteed satanic on a fixed timer, which will reset when you get a satanic. This will be in addition to regular RNG satanic drops, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Move on
It
here. I'm
was
gonna.
Wooxy, are you guys buffing paladins next patch?
So yes, we are. I actually really like where the paladin is in terms of his damage and everything, but we are going to be changing 2 skills, which I'm going to actually show you guys a little video of.
Oh hell
I
yeah!
can-
Ooh.
No,
Hell
then,
yeah!
Oh,
Sneak peek.
Holy
come
shit!
to-
Yeah.
Works. You dropped this on us like that. We needed some drum rolls or something.
I need to
Paladin
make a
sneak
fresh
peek.
batch of popcorn.
Yeah, sneak peek, baby.
So
Sneak
let me get it
peek.
pulled
No,
up
then-
real quick.
Hold on, I gotta
You're gonna
refill
Then
want
for
my
the
sippy
pellet,
cup.
You have to
wait,
You're
send
then
me
gonna
a
for the
want
link.
set
on-
bonus,
Paladin
Wait,
sneak
wait.
peek.
These guys are all excited, Wooxy.
wait, then for the set bonus, right? All class is just 4 piece, but paladin is 5 piece, so they actually need 4 piece before they can get their set bonus.
There we
Correct.
go, baby.
Okay, let's see where it is.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Marky. All the classes only need 4 set piece bonuses, but the pally has a 5-piece set, so it needs all 5 pieces. Yeah, it should
No,
be
he needs all 4 pieces to get the set bonus.
to get the set bonus from the 5. Correct. It should be, yeah, paladin. Okay, so you're saying paladin should have the increased benefit of,
No, it should be the same as all class. I mean, the set should just have 4 pieces instead of 5.
oh, like a 4-piece set bonus instead of a 5-piece set bonus. So that way
Yeah,
they get the
because-
benefit of wearing 3 pieces as opposed to 4.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay, you could put that on your stream. You guys are gonna love it.
Okay. All right, let me. This is
Where's
gonna
it
be
at?
crazy.
It's on
Lem-
Twitch, right? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna show it on the stream right now. All right, you guys ready for this?
Yeah.
Yes, let's do
Premiere
it.
Paladin
We're doing
update.
it live.
Right
Do
here,
it.
courtesy of Wooxy. There it is. Holy
Oh!
shit, those hammers, dude.
Dude,
What
blessed
the
hammer.
hell?
God.
Yes.
What?
Tell me that's
Yeah.
not
Wait.
Blessed Hammer. Tell me
Is
that's
that
not Blessed
now?
Hammer.
Dude, that's the Crusader. That's me, baby. That's me,
Yeah.
Is that in
season.
this build?
That's
No,
me,
that-
season
that's-
11.
That's season 11. So
Oh my God.
Wooxy. Nobody in the
That
stream is
so
listening.
Crazy.
I just want to say, I want you to give me the hookups and make the paladin overpowered so I can create content. Nobody heard that, okay?
Oh my God, that is
Yeah.
amazing.
Dude, Blessed Hammer.
Dude.
Wow, that is
Yo,
a real
okay.
spinning hammer build right there.
So Wooxy, the
Yeah.
reason why I'm more excited than any of these guys is when I play D3, I play D3 every season. I push the Crusader to the maximum. And obviously the Crusader has the Blessed Hammer build. So having a Paladin do that, it touches home with me personally as, that build. And I've always asked, like, it doesn't jive right now well. It doesn't even work well. But what you're showing me here on the stream, man, this is beautiful.
No, and not to toot his horn, but Wooxy, he's the #1 U.S. Paladin.
Thank you,
literally,
man.
in
I
the United
appreciate it.
States. No,
I usually stop
Max
after
is-
4 weeks because
Max
I don't want to
ranks-
compete with
Max
bots, but I
ranks
am.
1 in the D3 Paladin on the leaderboards every single season.
Crusader, yeah.
literally competitive.
On the Crusader,
Yeah,
I
it's
do, and
Crusader,
I quit
correct.
4 weeks in because I can't compete with bots. But
Yeah,
thank you, Silver. I appreciate that, man.
yeah. for
So the
Crusader.
cool thing about the holy hammers as well is that you can get an enigma and stack all of your hammers and then just start teleporting around. We reduced the cooldown on enigma from 8 seconds to 0.5 seconds, so it's gonna feel like the
Oh
Diablo 2 enigma
my
again.
god, I can't wait for this.
Ooh,
This is so
It's
cool.
nuts.
bro, this
Tell
gives me
me,
a
tell
new
me,
idea to play a new class
tell
finally.
me all the classes are gonna get some love like this.
Oh
Season
yeah,
11.
Eventually.
everybody's gonna be getting a lot of love. So we're
Yeah.
rebuilding pretty much every
That's
single class
awesome.
and doing the damage on them and
Dude, look
everything
at the
else.
animation.
That
Elias
It's
is
looks
a
so
beast.
so
freaking
Look at
good.
beautiful,
that
dude.
shit.
That
So
looks so
Elias is a
good.
beast.
okay, so the paladin in season 11. I mean, this looks amazing. So we'll be able to dish out a lot of damage. We'll be able to play a support role too, or if necessary. Um,
Yeah.
okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. I mean, plus, we'll be able to put speed gear and have a speed farming build for Inferno 5 and all that, right?
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. I love it, man. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to this. This is my next class.
so this skill that does that is actually the venerated one. We're removing how it works right now and just making it to where during the duration it gives your hammers increased damage and they follow you. So more than likely we will be increasing the cooldown a little bit because the cooldown right now is a little too small for how powerful it is.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, every single class will be getting uh, pretty
Awesome.
decent rework. Like another example that I have right now, um, is on Paladin, like the Blessed Light or whatever it's called, like the Holy Orbs or whatever they are.
Hmm.
Really useless skill. Um, we're gonna change that to a teleport. So you'll have like a consecrated teleport where after you teleport,
Yes.
it'll drop a consecration on the ground and deal AoE damage, or you can use it to get away. So
Oh
each
my
class is
god.
going to be getting some sort of teleport slash movement mechanic, and they will all be getting some sort of damage reduction mechanic. So for example, on Pirate,
Nice.
if you're using Anchor, during your Anchor cast, it will give you damage reduction. So it will complement the player to make it so that they level out their Anchor because they want to get increased damage reduction. And then
Hmm.
two, it makes it so you want full 50% CDR so that you can maintain that anchor. So there's a lot of things we're going to be adding like that.
That's awesome, man.
That's amazing.
So
That
one
that's
thing with
game
that being
changing.
said, obviously, I want to see the hammers. I want to see all of that. Are you? I mean, we touched base on this way earlier in the stream. Obviously, you guys are gonna, tweak the clutter effects that other player will see, right? Because if we're in a group of four, we have two paladins or whatever, and they're all spinning hammers, you're not gonna see shit. I want to see them, but
I
I'm
want to
sure.
see it as the opposite player, but maybe I want to see it
Well,
like
you
in
want to have
a
the ability to
dimmed
toggle it on and
version of it.
off, right? Yeah.
So what
Well, I
we're
want
going
to
to
see it on a
do,
dimmed version.
Yeah.
yeah, so we are going to have like a slider. Excuse me, we
Ooh.
are going to have like a slider to where it shows the visibility of friendly attacks or objects.
Hmm.
So this
Awesome.
would go for explosions, the holy hammers, you name it. It would reduce the visibility um, of the
That is
actual sprite.
huge.
Yeah, so even for like Sandstorm as well, it's really hard to see during Sandstorm because it just takes up your whole screen. And yeah, we're gonna make it so that you can definitely see through some of these crazy AoE effects. Yeah, so I don't have anything else to show right now. Um, but I figured you guys would like the Paladin. So
No,
That is
Dude, that was
absolutely.
amazing.
insane.
That is amazing.
There was a boss which had the ability smash, which covered a entire frontal cone in front of him, which we know was very buggy. Will this boss be fixed and make his way back into the boss cycle? I forgot his name. Do you remember his name, Mike?
I know exactly which one you're
You know what I'm
talking
talking about,
about.
Wooxy? Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I know exactly which one you're talking
Oh,
about.
the
Um,
big giant there. Yeah.
yeah, it's like the giant with the hammer. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Um, we more than likely are going to revamp every single boss's mechanics, and do plenty of testing on that with our testers to basically make it so that they can spawn a boss and just test it over and over and over. Um, to see if there's any desync issues with the attacks because that's really what happens is that it desyncs and it still shows the animation on your screen, but that's really not what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to work on that, and
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
definitely something we're going to be working on. So, and season 10 was completely about making the new trees and getting those new trees to function properly or to um, be fun, you know.
Hmm.
Um, then season 11 is going to be our quality of life season, so where it's just pure quality of life. It's we're going to get as many things in there as possible that players want to see or want changed for the better of the game. And season 12 is going to be our end game content. So we're going to be adding like a lot of different stuff for the end game. So it's just not doing the actual farming you're doing now.
Mhm.
Like my fusion system.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
We
Just
want to
kidding.
keep that
I'm
private,
just
but yeah. So yeah, we don't want to mention that, but yeah.
we already talked about that.
Yeah. But we do want to incentivize that. So
The portals in town, when a player spawns it, depending on the town, it can be very frustrating to interact with it. To interact with the player portal. Most of the times you interact with the stash and NPCs instead of the portals because they're so close to other objects and NPCs, forcing you to travel to another city sometimes. Have you considered moving the portals aligned with each other below the portal, starting from left to right, and in the order following who opened the portal first? And I can explain in game, so I can show you pretty much what I
I
mean
actually
by that.
have I
Go
actually
ahead.
have a perfect example.
Ooh, you
I
have
already
another
drew this
visual?
up. I do. Yeah, so you see how the blue portal is spawned literally right on the chest?
The
Um,
worst location.
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
That's why I wanna just leave the game, not even
Think
point to
Elias
anybody.
hates us when he did that.
yeah, exactly. So it's like that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I just placed the 4 green portals at the bottom just to mimic, what it would look like with a 4-player party. And every single town we need to change the positioning of the actual portals to do this. So that's not going to be too hard, but that's something that is on the agenda.
Okay. Portals will be getting reworked in season 11. Correct, Wooxy?
Yeah, they will be changing positions to be in a better spot.
Is Hero Siege coming out for Switch?
It is. It's going to be coming out for Switch and PlayStation.
Oh,
That's
baby.
awesome. Hero
Let's
Siege for Switch and
go.
PlayStation, guys.
Fuck yeah.
When do you think, Wooxy? A year, 2 years out?
So we're actually in the QA process of the Switch version at least. So
Yeah.
we just need to take off a couple extra things and then that should pass through. That could be anywhere from a month to 8 months from now. I'm not really exactly sure on that time frame. And then the QA process on the PlayStation, I don't believe we've started yet. So that could be anywhere from, again, 5 months to a year.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the intention to have the leaderboards still be fluid across those platforms as well?
Correct. Every single platform would connect together.
Great. Okay.
As a community, we feel that boss killing, either from shrines or act bosses, needs to be more significant and meaningful when you kill them. And what we mean is increasing their rewards and drops when they are killed. Killing the boss to get 200 rubies and no drops is the most unsatisfying reward currently in the game. Do you plan on adjusting this issue?
So, before I answer that question, let me just step back and say one thing. We are going to be changing the difficulty slider to be able to go up to 10. And it's going to be increased by a whole lot. It's
I
by like
love that.
for MF and experience wise. What we're going to be doing to bosses though is bosses are going to be giving a ton more experience. We're going to be comparing the boss rate experience to almost like a AoE farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just slightly less. We want the AoE farmers to be able to get more experience per hour, but the boss farmers to be able to, sit there and camp bosses and get
Compete.
better rewards and compete at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, so we're going to be increasing boss experience quite a bit. We're going to be increasing boss drops quite a bit. We're going to increase the value of the bosses, so that'll bring up the rubies. Um, and then we also want to include like the boss dungeons to make them a little bigger. Uh, this might be a season 12 thing, but more than likely it'll probably be a season 12 thing. But
Mm-hmm.
we want to increase the boss areas. So instead of just entering Gurog's throne, you'd have to enter like Gurog's castle. where you'd have like 3 or 4 um, stages you'd have to go through and then get to the boss, kind of like Diablo 2. And that way it's more rewarding because one, every single enemy inside that instance has a chance to drop a boss, a boss specific item,
Mm-hmm.
and then two, you're getting a lot more experience and reward from the boss itself. So it has a very good trade-off between speed and then single target.
Okay, so
That's awesome.
so make sure I capture all of that or most of that here. So difficulty bar will be increased from level 5 to 10, and this is for season 11 already, correct?
Correct.
Okay, for season 11. Bosses will give more XP. Bosses will drop. Drops will be increased. Value of bosses will be increased, so we'll drop more rubies. And you also plan on adding new boss spawn areas for future, like what, season 11? You think? I mean, season 12.
More than likely season 12, yeah.
At the latest.
Future,
Yeah.
like
Or
season 12 and further.
at
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, we want Inferno 10 to be like extremely difficult. Um,
Mhm.
Like
we want
truly end game geared character
truly
to be able to do it
exactly.
effectively.
Exactly. Your character needs to be full 100% 10-10 pretty much to do
Awesome.
these encounters. Like the boss HP is going to be extremely high, though unless you're a crazy single target player, you're not going to be able to down these bosses like on an AoE build. It's not
Good, I
like
like it.
you're going to play a full AoE Wanderer Nomad
Your
and
farming
then
nomad can't down this boss.
Correct.
exactly.
Difficulty 10 will challenge your class and will be balanced around having max upgraded gear and high hero levels in order to clear it.
That'll promote like group
Proper
diversity
build
too.
too, right?
Yes.
In order to clear it with the
That'll
proper
promote
build.
group diversity
Proper
with
build
single
and
target
gearing.
and
With the proper
group
build
AoE build.
and that's going to give you guys so much data and feedback as well by doing that, because
Oh yeah.
if 5 classes is bursting past difficulty 10, you have an issue there that you can address later.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's
And that
huge.
helps us too.
Correct. And from another player, and from content, perspective, now I have something to work towards. I get level 100, now, I have to get up to get into Inferno 1. Now, now I have to get, upgrade my gear and get better gear to get in Inferno 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now I have to min-max my talent tree and upgrade my gear at least halfway to compete in Inferno 6, and then get the most optimal build to go even through 10. That's a huge path of progression. So I'm really glad to hear that you guys are doing that. Mana/energy builds and scaling has shown to be really viable and scales well. Will you guys balance strength, armor, crit, and crit damage scaling to have more build diversity? An example, having the Lancer scale much higher than the 1.1% with armor to do more damage and make armor more useful for DPS build variety would be amazing. Lancer's tankiness is good, but DPS falls flat if they want to push solo. What's your thoughts, Wooxy?
So that really comes down to scaling, which again, we're removing a lot of the percentage scaling. So a lot of classes will be taking a hit in terms of damage. However, we still want our tanks to be able to clear through content by themselves. So more than likely, we'll be changing something or building something on the Lancer to where they have the ability to do that without feeling super weak. Because really, there shouldn't be any class that feels weak in this game. Every single class should be able to, with the proper gear, just to power through stuff. Because that's
Hmm.
what this type of game is. It's fun to power through
It's
content.
crushing mobs.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you
It's
invest
crushing
all that
mobs,
time. You want it to be
absolutely.
able to, yeah, delete stuff after when you're end game. Absolutely.
You never want to
Absolutely.
have that feeling that you rolled the wrong class.
Well,
Like
you put in
Exactly.
100 hours and now you can't do damage. You got to roll another class. Go
Yeah,
ahead. I'm
and that's
sorry.
what we want to change. And that's what we want to change because yeah, that's no fun. It's unrewarding. There's so many bad things to it. So, we definitely want to focus on that. And I can't say that'll happen completely during season 11 just due to how much tasks we have to do to get this
Yeah.
season out.
Hmm.
Um, but between season 11 and season 12, that will be fixed.
The boss models and graphics, or majority of them, is smaller than the player models, making them impossible to see. And you feel like you're just looking at the health bar up top. Have you considered
Yes.
increasing the model sizes on all bosses to stand out more and be more visual, especially bigger than the player models? We feel this would be a huge quality of life change for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. We plan to increase the size of the bosses by quite a bit. We brought this up earlier, where the zombie boss, whatever his name, Bahak, whatever,
Hmm.
um, and then like the skeleton boss are almost impossible to see when you have so many damage or so much damage going on, and the just the attacks alone cover the boss's the boss itself. So
Hmm.
we plan to bring bosses closer to the size of like Abomination or the
Woo! We rolled
Skullhead.
deep with another
Yeah, the skull
follower.
head. Yeah, the horror mask. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
our boss should
that'd
stand
be
out.
ideal.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah,
The ice pillar on Gabriel, with too many effects around and the clutter, prevents you sometimes from seeing the pillar in groups. In hardcore groups, it's instant death. Please increase the size and height of the pillar and make it stand out more. And then see video for reference. I mean, you can comment on this and I'll show the video, but I always die to this mechanic. One, because I'm reading chat, I'm streaming. The other half of the time, I don't even see the
You
damn
have the
thing.
video.
I do have the
so
video, yeah.
so the big issue with like Gabriel's attack is that
It's behind
first off,
thick shield.
it could spawn into like trees and stuff. So if you're playing on
Yes.
the like the blood map or whatever, the red map, um he can actually spawn it to the trees to where you can't even LOS it. So we really don't like mechanics like that. So
Hmm.
generally we're gonna be removing all those type of like one shot type mechanics unless they're like choreographed better. Um like for example the slam from Uber Reaper, right? The pentagram slam. You know you're gonna get one shot if you tank that, but it's very visual, like you know exactly where that's gonna hit and it gives
Right.
you plenty of time to react to it. So that's what we kind of want to do with one shots, and actually we're changing the system to completely remove one shots to where if you're a tank, you'd actually be able to mitigate it if you have good enough stats.
Hmm.
So that'll play more into the role of having tanks and having healers and having a better group diversity as well.
The Ascendancy Marauder build creates massive performance issues in multiplayer, FPS drops and lag altogether, game slows down. We know the build is not intended, but please review how the procs in Marauder works in groups to avoid future performance issues.
Well, we know the build now is intended,
We know the
but
build
it
now
does
is
have
intended,
performance issues.
but there is some, yeah. I don't know if you're aware, Wooxy, but we had a buddy come in, which is
Meltalk.
Maltalk, the number one white mage right now. He built a Ascendancy Marauder because it's essentially the same gear as the white mage.
Yeah.
He came in doing fours with us, and the game was almost unplayable. Like we go
It was
from 100
binging.
frames under 20 to like a fucking PowerPoint slideshow sometimes
Yeah,
because of
well,
him. Yeah.
that's something about the Marauder we're gonna change. I can't really go over it right now.
Hmm.
But we do have a change for the Marauder to reduce lag and things like that. So that definitely will be changed. Um, in terms of ascendancy on other classes, I haven't seen any lag issues, but if there is, just let us know and we can address that. More than likely, it's just a desync issue or some sort of sound issue behind the skill. So, not too hard to address.
Okay. With future patch updates, do you plan on having some players test a private build first before releasing a patch, or have more quality assurance review of it to avoid more issues when the patch drops? It's really frustrating getting a new patch and issues are not fixed, or worse, introduce other problems. I'm sure players are willing to test a patch or class before it's updated to make sure it works as intended. What's your thoughts on this? Is it even possible? And this has to do with the Plague Doctor, obviously having patch updates and changes, but really didn't fix anything.
Yeah, so what happens is that
The
Developers,
developers are smoothing out their internal workflow to smooth this issue out.
Yes, that's the proper
that's
response.
that's exactly how I wanted to put it too. That's
yeah,
good.
and
Developers are smoothing out their
that's
internal
exactly.
workflow. Yep.
To smooth this issue out.
I'm sorry, Wixie, go
Well,
ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say that's exactly like spot on. Like, all these changes we're doing are just to smooth everything out in the long run.
All right, so one of the questions was from Freedom 408. I have a question. Are you okay with the way players find party now, or you want it to improve? This is actually one of the suggestions, but that's a question
Yeah,
for
we
you,
we
Wixie.
do we do want it to improve. We do want to make more of like a matchmaking type system for players because right now it's basically you start a party and nobody's going to join it. I mean, everyone just starts their own parties. So we are going to try to make multiplayer a little bit more incentivized to play with other players at all given times. So it'd be more like Diablo 3, right? Where like usually you want to enter those public parties or you want to, be playing with a party of 4 because it's just going to give you that much of a extra bonus. And that still remains the same with parties right now because you're killing monsters faster, you're getting more rewards per hour faster. So yeah,
Okay, not bad. The next question came from
Keep
Jab
going, brother.
Dakona. He says, "Have we talked about Jotun if he will be released soon or not?"
he
Good.
will be released in season 12. Um, so what the Jotun is going to be based on, he's going to be a frost or a cold caster slash thunder melee. He can only use two-hand weapons, and yeah, he'll be during season 12.
Next question was from Nox Dre. What about the Steam boxes? Will there be any changes or exchanges for multiple cosmetics items?
There will be. You we will be adding future boxes and DLCs and stuff that can be traded.
Okay.
So yes, that definitely will be.
Extra Pandy asked, "What are the plans on Lord of the Dead Necro?"
So we've already fixed the actual summons. The problem we have to fix now is how to get summons during a situation where your summons are killed off. So more than likely we're going to be changing the corpse explosion to something different to give you an ability or something to spawn your undead. I'm personally thinking about making like a I don't even know what you'd call it, like a little graveyard around the character for a couple seconds, where you'd be able to, while standing in that little zone, you'd be able to continuously summon your pets or your summons, and they would also be healing while in that little zone as well. So that way you can continue keeping your pets alive, and you can also keep your pets or revive your pets.
Awesome. And then somebody asked, I don't know who the name is, but somebody asked about the pirate. Any changes coming to the pirate for season 11?
There is. So for the Gunner tree, we are going to be removing one of her procs, or no, one of the abilities she has, and we're going to be changing that to like an explosion jump.
Hmm.
So you throw like a grenade underneath your feet and launch into the air. So there's that. We made the change to also give damage reduction to the anchor. We are also removing Treasure Hunter from the Plunderer because it just doesn't serve much purpose right now, and we're going to be replacing that with something else so that the Plunderer has more damage. We've also decreased a lot of the cooldowns on some of the pirate skills, so your damage is also going to be more consistent.
If I
Yeah.
can say this, give out this last key, and then in
Oh,
support of Panic Art Studios and Wooxy for being here with us such a long time and participating in this devlog, I'm also going to be gifting 4 keys of Hero Siege to the community just in support of the devs. So Max, you can put up those raffles with those 4 keys on Steam, and I'll give them the CD keys.
okay.
Great, thank
So
you.
8 keys total. Yep.
Yes, and I appreciate your time, Wooxy. So I want to be able to give back.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys inviting me. It's always good to be able to hear from the community and for the community to be able to hear from our standpoint too, because it's very easy to be a player and be like, oh yeah, the devs aren't doing anything. But in reality, we're changing systems and doing a lot of different stuff. So
Right.
it's good that, like specifically for me, I really enjoy being both a player and a developer because I get to see a lot of the player problems and I get to see a lot of the development problems.
Yep.
So I get to kind of tie the two together.
Hmm.
So yeah.
First of all, I'd like to thank you, man. And it's an honor to have you here. The stream was great. The interview was great. You were very informative. I think this was huge for the community to hear from you, that you guys are working hard on developing new items, new satanics, new seasonal themes. You guys are planning on balancing the game, planning on bringing new content to the future, which I was hoping to hear from you, and I did. Um, so to me, the stream was amazing. It makes me want to continue playing the game more and more in the future, especially checking out season 11 and season 12. And I appreciate you taking the time to share with us, and hear our thoughts and concerns. And hopefully in the future, we can address in a different smaller podcast, suggestions and all that, if you're up for it. But this was great. I really thank
Oh
you
yeah,
very much.
I'm definitely down for another podcast. I have a lot of fun doing them, and it's honestly great because it allows the player to see our standpoint too, without it just being silent. Because I know a lot of games are like that, where they just don't communicate with the player base, and I think that's wrong. I think that's a wrong stance to do. But I understand why they do it, is just due to lack of time for the most part. And thanks for bringing me on. I always enjoy being able to talk to you, the player base, and see what your guys' opinions are on things, see how you guys are reacting to changes we do on, we just want to make the best game possible, and I always appreciate when players want to help out and help us make this game great. So thank you guys. It helps us by doing podcasts and things like this too.